Welcome back to Figuring It Out with Rachel Lee. I'm your host, Rachel Lee. And before we get into this episode, if something hits you while you're listening, follow the podcast, leave a review, or send it to someone who you think needs to hear it. That's how this reaches the people it's meant for. Also, if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm so glad you're joining the conversation. Okay, so this episode's called On Paper. And here's what I mean by that. On paper, I looked solid, capable, responsible, strong, the one who can handle anything, the one people trust. And honestly, if you had seen my resume or even my calendar, you'd think I was running the world. And for a while, I thought that meant I was doing great. But here's what I know now. Looking good on paper and actually feeling okay in your life, not the same thing. And that's the disconnect I want to unpack today. Because what people saw on the outside and what I was carrying on the inside were two very different stories. Yes, I looked put together, but I didn't trust myself. My worth was wrapped around how useful I could be. I didn't know how to rest, and my capacity came with receipts and resentment. Performing became how I survived, and for a long time, I didn't even know I was doing it. So this episode isn't just about how it looked, it's about what it actually cost to keep looking that way. So, let's talk about it. Here's the part that's hard to say out loud, but real talk, I didn't just overperform. I didn't just overwork. I built my identity around it. Being the reliable one wasn't just a role I played. It was me. Being capable wasn't just a strength. It was how I earned my place in every room I walked into. So when people would say things like, "You're so strong. You always handle everything," I didn't question it. I inhaled it. Because if I wasn't that, I didn't know who or what I was. And no, I wasn't walking around consciously thinking, "Oh, hey, my entire identity is tied to this job." Trust me, it wasn't that clean. But there was something, some quiet hum underneath it all, a question I couldn't quite name yet at that time, because the truth is, I didn't want to be seen as the girl without parents, or the one whose brother died traumatically, or the single mom who couldn't keep a man, or get a good one for that matter. Now, that's not necessarily how people saw me, but it is how I thought they saw me. So I worked hard. I stayed capable. I stayed impressive. Not just to succeed, but to hide. It was unconscious, but it was real. I wasn't trying to be exceptional. I was trying not to be exposed. And when that identity started to crack, it didn't feel like freedom. It felt like fear. Because underneath it all, I was just thinking, well, really asking myself, if I'm not impressive, will I be discarded? That question, think about it for a second. Will I be discarded? No, it didn't show up clearly at first. What showed up instead was exhaustion. Not the kind you fix with a nap. Keep in mind. The kind that lingers, that sticks in your bones, even when everything looks fine. And you don't even realize it. Because I had the job. I had the title. I had the functioning life, but something was cracking underneath it. And it wasn't some big dramatic moment. It was subtle. I'd wake up tired because here we were doing the exact same thing over and over. So rest wouldn't help. And no matter how much I got done, I didn't feel grounded in any of it. And I really didn't even feel productive, if I'm being honest. But eventually I did see the lie, and it wasn't working hard. The lie was, if I stop doing this, I disappear. If I'm not producing, performing, showing up, being useful, I don't matter. That belief didn't just live in my job. I know, plot twist, right? It lived in friendships, in family dynamics, in relationships, in the way I shrunk myself, in how much I tolerated, and how little I asked for. I thought value meant usefulness, and I was very, very good at being useful. But what I didn't realize is that usefulness can become a costume, and eventually it starts wearing you. The praise I got, it felt good for a minute, but it never lasted because praise is a hit. It's not a foundation. And no matter how much I gave, there was always this echo inside me saying, don't stop, don't slip, they'll see you and they'll leave. If I had to pick one story that kind of captures all of this, it's this one. At the time this happened, I was managing multiple departments in the mortgage industry. End of month. It's chaos. There's deadlines, stress, pressure, people counting on you. Twice, not once, twice. I stayed overnight at my job. Not late. Not until everyone else left. Overnight. Slept on a couch. Because I believed I had to hold the whole damn thing together. And don't get me wrong, my team at the time, they stayed as late as they possibly could. But after that, they left, I stayed. I didn't want to inconvenience anyone else. I didn't want to be the reason something didn't get done. And maybe the truth is, I didn't want to be seen as replaceable. So instead of setting a boundary, I stayed. Here's what that meant. Someone else had to take care of my kids. I wore the same clothes 2 days in a row. I woke up with a pit in my stomach because of the amount of work that had to get done. I think it was the second time that somebody actually brought me a toothbrush so I could brush my teeth, because who plans for that, right? But here's the part that gets me about that whole thing. People took pictures of me sleeping. Not to check on me. Not to say, hey, are you okay? But to show off how dedicated I was. It became this little office legend, if you will. Like, Rachel, she'll do whatever it takes. She's always here. She never drops the ball. And listen, I used to eat that shit up. I thought it meant I was valuable. Now, I look back and think, wow, I wasn't being loyal. I wasn't being a team player. I was abandoning myself, wearing burnout like a fucking badge, getting paid in praise, not money, and calling it success. And let's be clear, I mean, especially in that situation, right? Well, in all of them, really. Awareness didn't show up all wise and glowy, holding a clipboard of affirmations. Exhaustion got there first. I didn't wake up suddenly enlightened. I woke up empty, tired in my body, tired in my spirit, tired of feeling like the only way I mattered was if I was managing everything. I started noticing things that I used to brush off, like, why do I feel so guilty when I rest? Why does slowing down make me feel anxious? And why does praise feel good for like 5 seconds and then it's gone? And at some point I've had to admit to myself, I wasn't operating from confidence. I was operating from fear. Fear of being seen without my armor. Fear of no longer being the strong one. Fear of what would happen if I didn't say yes to everything. And then, cue internal chuckle, I remember reading one of those big reflection prompts like, what would it feel like to stop abandoning yourself? And I just kind of blinked like, oh, okay. Are we having a moment of silence for my self-abandonment? Cool. Because looking back, I was absolutely disappearing inside my own life. Smiling through it, performing strength, nodding politely through burnout. But here's a fun fact for you. In 2022, I got let go from a job. And in hindsight, it was a blessing, right? But as I started interviewing again, I landed a conversation with a mortgage company, president level, who told me if I accepted this position, they'd need me to micromanage the team. Micromanage. Not support, not lead, micromanage. So basically, babysit grown-ass people and track all their data. And I said, politely, no thanks. Because there is no version of me now that's going to sacrifice my peace just to be seen as valuable. That right there, we'll call that evolution. Past me would have said yes just to prove I could do it, just to get the job, just to be the one who always shows up. Now, I'm good. I know what it costs, and I'm not paying that price anymore. You know, another quiet sign of growth, I leave when I'm ready. Not rudely, not dramatically, just when I'm ready. There was a time when I'd stay too long in conversations, in group chats, in rooms that didn't feel good. I used to be the first one there and the last one to leave. Not because I was having the time of my life, although sometimes I would, but because I didn't know how to excuse myself without guilt. And if I'm being real here, in my drinking days, I might have passed out where I was. Not metaphorically, I mean literally. I didn't have the capacity or the awareness to take care of myself yet. I overextended. I wanted to be liked, to belong, to be seen as fun, easy, available. But now I don't perform connection. I don't stay for the sake of being seen. I don't owe my presence to anyone. And there's something sacred about being able to sit with myself, to know I've had enough and leave quietly without explaining or apologizing or making it weird. It seems small, but for me, it's everything. Because I'm not trying to be the good one anymore. I'm trying to be the true one. And she knows when it's time to go. Here's what no resume or Instagram bio or LinkedIn headline ever fucking shows. It doesn't show the grief you've carried, the trauma you worked around, the self-doubt you masked with strategy and dry shampoo. It doesn't show the nights you cried in your car between meetings, the moments you got it all done but felt like none of it mattered, the way you made yourself essential, not because you wanted to be the hero, but because you didn't want to be forgotten. Looking good on paper is a skill, but it doesn't tell the truth. And here's the truth, at least mine. I wasn't being strong. I was being afraid. Afraid that if I slowed down, people would see through me. Afraid that if I stopped performing, I'd lose my value. Afraid that if I took up space without proving I earned it, I'd be too much. This episode isn't about blaming jobs or trashing ambition. I like ambition. I like working hard. But I'm no longer willing to gut myself emotionally to be seen as impressive. There's a big difference between doing something because it aligns with who you are at your core and doing it because you don't know who the fuck you are without it. Before we wrap up, here's one thing I want you to sit with. If you stripped away the performance, the productivity, the proving, who would you be? And would you still let yourself matter? Because I've had to ask myself that exact question more than once. When the titles fell away, when the room got quiet, when there was no one clapping for me but me, here's what I found. I'm not here to be impressive. I'm here to be real. I'm here to live from wholeness, not hustle. From self-trust, not performance. From choice, not fear. And yeah, I still have moments where I slip back into the old patterns. But the difference now, I catch it sooner. I course correct faster. And I don't abandon myself to make someone else comfortable. If this episode hit something inside of you, my DMs are always open. And not because I have all the answers, but because I see you. And you're not the only one figuring it out. This is Rachel Lee, and I'll see you next time as we keep figuring it out.